No one teaches us how to manage money in school. We learn equations, historical dates, and grammar rules, but not how to budget, invest, or even deal with debt. So we make mistakes. Quiet ones, expensive ones. And if you're anything like me, those mistakes don't show up all at once. They creep in, disguised as small choices, bad habits, or simple ignorance. Today's episode is not about shaming the past. It's about awareness. It's about the patterns we don't see until we're paying interest on them. So let's talk about it. Let's talk about the 9 personal finance mistakes that cost me time, peace, and sometimes even my sense of self-worth. Because maybe if we bring them into the light, we can help each other avoid them. For the longest time, I believed that managing money was something I'd deal with later, once I made more of it. I'd say things like, I'm not broke, I'm just between paychecks. Or budgeting, I don't need that yet, let me get a raise first. What I didn't realize was that mindset was the first trap. Here's the truth no one told me. If you can't manage $100, you won't magically become better with $1,000. More money doesn't fix habits, it magnifies them. And so I lived paycheck to paycheck. Even when I got that raise, nothing changed. My expenses rose with my income. My stress stayed the same because I never learned the basics: how to track my spending, how to say no, how to distinguish between needs and wants. Looking back, I realize now, wealth doesn't start with a higher income. It starts with discipline and clarity, even when you're earning little. I wish someone had told me that sooner. Saving isn't about how much you make, it's about how much you choose to keep. And if I could go back, I wouldn't wait for more. I'd start with what I had, however small, and build from there. Because the habit of stewardship, that's the real starting point of freedom. There was a phase in my life where I thought I was making it. New apartment, nice clothes, brunch every weekend. On the outside, I looked like someone doing well. But inside, I was silently stressed, juggling credit card balances and praying nothing unexpected came up, because one emergency could derail everything. I had fallen into one of the most common traps, mistaking lifestyle upgrades for actual financial progress. You see, I thought success meant looking successful. I measured my growth by what I could afford to buy, not by what I was building. The new phone, the upgraded car, the dinners out, they weren't just purchases, they were performances. Proof to myself and others that I was doing okay. But here's what I've learned the hard way. Wealth whispers, debt screams, and real financial strength doesn't show up in designer labels. It shows up in options, in peace, in the ability to say no without fear. When you grow up with limited resources, the moment you can afford a little more, you want to indulge, and that's understandable. We all deserve comfort, but comfort isn't the same as stability. No one applauds you for skipping the flashy stuff and maxing out your Roth IRA. But that quiet, boring consistency, that's what creates the kind of life where you're not just surviving, you're choosing. I learned that too late. But maybe, if you're listening now, you won't have to. Let me ask you something. When was the last time you tracked every dollar you spent in a month? For a long time, my answer was never. I knew I was spending. I could feel the money leaving, but I didn't know where it was going. Not really. I just kept swiping my card, hoping there was enough in the account. Sometimes I'd avoid checking the balance altogether, because ignorance felt safer than facing the truth. But here's the problem with that. You can't change what you don't measure. If money is leaking through the cracks and you don't even know where the cracks are, how can you ever plug them? What surprised me most wasn't how much I was spending, it was what I was spending on. Subscription. I forgot to cancel. Impulse takeout 3 times a week. $120. Target runs for just one thing. $80. Every time. The little things weren't little. They were bleeding my future dry, one tap at a time. The day I finally sat down and tracked every expense was the day I took my power back. Not because I suddenly became rich, but because I finally knew what was true. There's something deeply empowering about looking your money in the eye, saying, I see you, I know you, and I choose to handle you with intention. That's when things began to shift, not all at once, not overnight, but slowly I went from feeling out of control to feeling in charge. And you know what? Peace doesn't come from how much you earn, it comes from how much you understand. There's a kind of spending no budget can fix. It doesn't happen in your bank account. It starts deeper, inside. I'm talking about emotional spending. I didn't always see it, but looking back, some of my worst money decisions didn't come from carelessness. They came from loneliness, from shame, from wanting to feel something, anything other than stuck. I'd buy new clothes not because I needed them, but because I felt invisible. I'd order takeout because I was too exhausted to face myself in the kitchen. I'd spend money on treats to make a bad day feel less bad, but they never made the emptiness go away. For a while, I called it self-care. But real self-care doesn't leave you more broke and more broken. Here's the hard truth. If you're using money to escape your feelings, you're not spending, you're numbing. And the numbness doesn't last. The guilt always catches up. What I've learned is that money is never just about dollars and cents. It's about meaning, about self-worth, about the stories we've been told and the ones we keep telling ourselves. The shift came when I stopped asking, how do I make more money? And started asking, what am I really trying to fix when I spend? Sometimes the answer was, I'm just tired, or I feel like I'm falling behind, or even I want to feel loved. You can't solve those things with Amazon Prime. So I started building other muscles, the muscle of sitting with discomfort instead of avoiding it, the muscle of reaching out to a friend instead of reaching for my wallet, the muscle of reminding myself, I am enough. Right now, without buying a thing. And slowly something changed. I began to heal. Not just financially, but emotionally too. So here we are. We've talked about the mistakes, the spending I didn't track, the emotional purchases I justified, the illusions I bought into. And maybe as you listened, something hit home. A moment where you thought, yeah, I've done that too. If so, good. Not because the mistake is good, but because awareness is the beginning of power. You see, most people don't end up in financial chaos because they're stupid or lazy. They get there because they were never taught how to think about money, or because they were taught to attach their self-worth to things they could buy, or because they were trying to survive something that hurt too much to face. I get it. I've been there. But I want you to hear this. Really hear it. You are not broken. You are learning. And learning is messy. When I stopped judging myself for what I didn't know and started gently teaching myself what I needed to know, everything changed. Not instantly, but steadily. Because personal finance at its core isn't about numbers. It's about honesty. About finally saying, this is what I've done, and this is what I want to do better. You don't need to have it all figured out. You just need to begin, right here, right now. Maybe that means tracking your expenses today. Maybe it means canceling one subscription, or maybe it means forgiving yourself for the years you spent avoiding it all. Whatever it is, start, quietly, humbly, but start. Because every step toward clarity is a step toward freedom. And freedom, friend, is worth everything.